Hello everyone and welcome back, where we're going to continue our discussion from last time of part 1 talking about fonts. In the last lecture we showed some basic CSS properties for fonts. Now we're going to explore how to understand OS choice and font relationship. We will also show how to use custom web fonts. Let's get started by jumping to our browser and checking out a few links. All of these links are provided as comments in the part 1 fonts HTML and CSS files that come with the download for this course. I'm going to hop to the browser now. Okay, so the first two links I want you to check out are the official Wikipedia links for the list of typefaces included with Microsoft Windows, and on the second link here with Mac OS. And here you can just scroll down and see the latest fonts added for Mac OS, and if you scroll further down you can see the family name subtypefaces available. So as I mentioned in the previous lecture, not every font is going to have every face or style available. Not every font can be shown as italic or bold. And here you can check out the Wikipedia links for more information on the faces available, that's that bold versus italic, etc., and the typefaces available. Now, if you're choosing a font and you want to know its availability on both platforms, you can check out this website called cssfontstack.com, and it has a really nice display of a font and then the percent of availability on Windows computers and Mac computers. So if we zoom in here for a second, we can see something like Arial is a font that is available on 99% of Windows and 98% of Mac computers. So it's a pretty safe choice for pretty much most operating systems that are using Windows or Mac. And that goes for Ubuntu as well. So there are other choices that may not be as safe. For instance, something like Optima is really only available on Mac computers at 94% and available only about 3% of Windows computers. So if you're trying to choose a default font, try to choose something that has high availability on both Mac and Windows. But let's say you're wanting to choose your own font. Well, you can actually download fonts from the internet, and you can either download the font file itself and link it to your project locally, which is what you'll do when you host everything, but you can also just link to an actual CDN or a link itself. So let me go ahead and explore how we can do that. There's two websites we're going to be exploring. One is fonts.google.com, which is a really great website to download fonts from, and the other one is fontlibrary.org, which kind of has a little bit of a goofier fonts, but it does have some pretty nice fonts as well. Let's explore how we can actually grab one of these fonts and put it into our website. So if you come to fonts.google.com, you're basically looking at a directory of a lot of font families. And you can clarify what kind of fonts you're looking for, maybe something like handwriting, monospace, trending, and maybe you're looking for a specific language, etc., number of styles, thickness. So let's look at one that's really obviously not a font that comes on your computer. So this one right here, Barrio, let's click on that. I'll click on the plus sign to add it, and here we see the family selected. So now if I click on that, I see this right here. And you'll notice that it says embed fonts. So to embed your selected fonts on a web page, copy this code into the head of your HTML document. And then it tells you what to specify in CSS. So you use the following CSS rules to specify these families, Barrio, and then you can also say cursive. So let me show you how we can do that. And you'll also notice that it has a load time of fast. So loading this using these links is going to take a little bit of time because your website's going to have to connect to Google. But you can also download the font itself. But let's try just with the embedding. So I will copy this link and jump to my text editor. And here I have the text editor open, and in the head of the HTML file, this is part 1 fonts from last time, I am going to save this right here, and it's just a reference to, if I zoom out a little bit, to the actual link to fonts.google APIs. So right here, I've added a link, and now I can come over here, and let's say we want the paragraphs to actually have the font that we just downloaded. So let me delete some of the stuff from last time. In fact, we'll delete most of it, except for the paragraph, and we'll take care of font family, and we're going to copy and paste what is here, this font family line. So I will copy that, and then come back to the Atom text editor, and paste that right there. So let me save that. Here I have part 1 fonts. We can copy that full path by just coming here to the directory, copy full path, and now let's paste it into our browser. And here we can see that I have this sort of funky font from that Google API. So it's really easy to add in new fonts using googlefonts.api. And if you wanted to, you could also download the font and link to the file locally. We'll be talking a lot more about linking stuff locally versus linking stuff online when we talk about Bootstrap. But the main idea I want you to get out of this lecture is that you can come to Google Fonts, pick any font that looks good to you, add it to what is essentially almost like a shopping cart, and then check this out, and it will actually begin to add. So here, if I wanted to use two different types of families of fonts, you can see here that Google has automatically already added them to the link. So then I can get rid of Barrio, the first one, and then only have this Playfair display font. And it tells you what to specify in the CSS to actually specify those families. The other website I wanted to show you about fonts is not Google Fonts, but this fontlibrary.org, which is also another website that hosts open source fonts. And a key thing to remember is that some fonts can actually be really expensive and are not free. So not all fonts are free. You're going to have to make sure that you check the copyright and whether or not you have permission to use a font. On Google Fonts, all of these fonts are free and open source, so you can check them out. Same with fontlibrary.org, but on other websites, sometimes you have to pay to get access to a font. So make sure you keep that in mind. But let's just show you how to grab something from fontlibrary.org. I'm going to go check out a handwriting font, click on it over here. Let's choose this one that says Alex Brush, so I click on that one. Here I see the font, what it looks like, great. And then it says to use this font, it's very much the same thing we were doing. So I just copy this link, put it in the head of my HTML file. So let's get rid of the last one, paste that in there, save it, and then over on the CSS, I can see what I have to use. So we'll just copy and paste that, and it's showing right now for an example paragraph. So we'll come back up here and paste that whole thing in there. So now I'm just calling Alex Brush regular, save that, and let's come back up here and refresh this page. And we can see now I'm using that Alex Brush font. All right, hopefully you realize this is actually a pretty simple process, just linking to the head of your HTML document and then using the information in your CSS to basically use now any font you want. It doesn't have to actually be included on Windows or Macs. You'll be loading it directly from this website, Google Font or fontlibrary.org. All right, that's all I wanted to talk about for this lecture. If you have any questions, feel free to post them to the Q&A forums. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture.